Hello, wonderful world. It's Jennifer here at Eureka Astrology and Healing, and today we're going to be talking about the astrology of the Capricorn new moon. The Capricorn new moon is on December 30th, 2024 at 4:26 Central Standard Time. And as always, adjust your time zones accordingly if you live somewhere else. And I always like to say, remember, this is always a general forecast. This is not specific to your chart necessarily. We're trying to talk about overarching energies. If you're interested in seeing how this moon or the year ahead looks for you, or if you're interested in your chart, you can check out my site, Eureka Astrology and Healing, and see the services I offer. I do astrology, some shamanic work, as well as other services. And with that, let's get into the astrology. So I know I haven't been here for a while, and I will thank anyone who watches this. I'm doing my best, and you'll hear me say this phrase, chop wood and carry water. Sometimes we forget that we have to chop wood or carry water, or we're busy doing other things. And so I have been trying to rest and also take care of other things that I need to do. But I also really love doing these videos, so here I am. With that, let's talk about the notables. And so the reason I do the notables is because it's taking the bigger view. This is just a chart, right? Just literally a snapshot of time in space. And so I like to do these notables so that we can get a little bit bigger handle on what's going on. And the first thing I want to say is, of course, it's a Capricorn new moon. And a Capricorn new moon means that if you astrologically, the sun and the moon are lined up in the sky when we look out at it. And so energetically, this means that it's an energy of newness and youth and beginning. Now, with that being said, and so remember, this is the day of, and so this is going to be an energy of the day for sure that people are going to be feeling in one way or the other. But again, depending on your chart, it could be stronger or less influential. Is that the moon's not so happy in Capricorn. It likes being in Cancer. Cancer's its home, and that's across the way. It's across the pond. It's like, no, my home's over there. Cancer is warm and cozy, and I can go hide in my house. And Capricorn's like, no, you're going to get outside. It's really cold up there. You've got no mittens. You got to go do some work. You're going to chop that wood and carry that water while it's, -10 below. And you can get to go inside, but not until you're done doing the work. And so what I'm trying to say here is we're going to feel maybe there's a sense of duty or responsibility that we're not so inclined in wanting to do. We might also feel a little bit repressed in our emotions because in Capricorn, it's about hunkering down and getting it done. It's not about feeling the feelings and talking about it. It's like, no, I know you want to cry right now, but you've got to go do the work first. We need the wood to stay warm and alive, and we need the water to stay alive. Get out there now. And allowing yourself to cry about it usually takes up time and takes up the energy, especially in these cold winter months. So it sounds harsh, but we might be feeling like we have to kind of push things back a little bit, feelings and emotions, which is not fun. And I'm not saying you need to. You just might feel that. But what I can say is you can harness, if you're doing new moon rituals, try not to maybe focus in on the repression so much unless maybe you overindulge in emotions. Maybe that's something you could do as a little bit of a discipline. But really, what you can utilize is the endurance and the repetition and the patience and understanding that you might not get praised for that, for you doing that hard work at the time. People might not recognize what you're doing now, but it'll pay off in the end. So if you're thinking about doing things that really need a solid foundation and not instant gratification, but really like that's going to be sustaining you for a long time, and your goals and visions, this would be the new moon to do it in, really. So try to use that in a positive way. The second notable is that we have Mars, Jupiter, and Uranus retrograde. So that's not uncommon. Planets go retrograde all the time. For those who don't do astrology, it means that they're going backwards in the sky. They look like they're moving through the sky in a backwards motion. However, they're not. It just looks that way. In energetic terms, it means they're kind of pumped up, jammed up. They are closer technically to the Earth, so we feel them more energetically. And let's think about those three planets quickly. Mars, of action and doing. When it's closer, the energy gets so intense that often we don't know how to get it out. And so what people might be on edge, like, ready to go. And Uranus kind of adds to that. Like, it's like, I want change, I want movement, but maybe we don't know how to do it quite. Like the answers are not kind of coming there. So we've got like two kind of, you got like hot fire, hot motion, and also like this electrical charge kind of like building, building, building. And then Jupiter, which kind of expands everything, it's not making exact aspects, but it's kind of pumping it all up, just bringing more and more and more. I feel like people could be on edge, right? I had the analogy of like an athlete who's like primed and ready to go. They've warmed up, they're ready, they're, done the practice they need to do. They are ready to go, but there's no one there to practice, or the bus doesn't come to take them to their meet. We're thinking of like, high schoolers. I got a high school son. And you don't get to go. And so like there's this tension, like this built up energy, and you just get frustrated. So there might be a lot of frustration. I can just say is like, try to channel that in a positive way. Try to use that energy in ways that are going to work for you in a safe way if you can, because you can get things done, but don't expect things to be perfect or incomplete. You might do something and have to redo it, especially like if you're doing a lot of action or change. If you change something and you kind of try it out for these, next few weeks, and then like say Uranus goes direct, and it's like, oh, I need to rechange it again. Like I tried this, didn't work, worth a try, but got to move on, move forward. So again, this is kind of about that, think about that Capricorn new moon. How can we use that? All right, like repetition. You just keep trying, try not to get too frustrated. And again, we could see this frustration because that moon is kind of like telling you to hold everything in, hold the feelings in. And, Mars is hot, really hot where it's at right now. And it is not like being told not to like get out and do things. So I could see a little bit of, I don't want to say like tempers, but a little bit of tempers possibly. And with Mercury in Sagittarius, I wrote like hot words, people just popping off at the mouth, like, oh, I'm going to tell you right now what I want, what I need. I need my freedom. I need this. I need that. I want to be an individual, but you might not get it right now. I'm just going to be honest with you, or in the way that you want. The last thing I wanted to make is a notable, which I think is very important because this is a greater shift collectively, is the North Node and the South Node. So that's where the moon eclipses the planet through the sign. Every year and a half it shifts. So it's not going to shift quite yet, but in the next couple of weeks, I believe, it's going to shift signs. So the last year and a half, it's been in Aries and Libra. That North Node is where we're going. So we've been trying to collectively find our voice for our needs, our wants, what we actually have to do, and where we need to stand up for ourselves or others, where we need to be brave, no matter what others say, like despite potential loss or cost, like really needing to stand up. And also maybe where we need to let go of judgment in relationships, maybe where we need to let go of actual relationships, and maybe we're like, okay, things are out of balance, we need to fix this. So that energy's been present, and it's going to shift into Pisces and Virgo. So we're going to go into Pisces as far as the focus. That's vastly different. It's going to chill out, right? The energy for like needing to get things done and kind of maybe kick a little butt. It's like, okay, connecting a little more with spirit, connecting more with our creativity, letting things go, looking at the cosmic picture, like the everything, not just cosmic, but like everything that ever existed, and letting go over the details and kind of the minutia where we've kind of been picky and anal. And so just kind of think about that, because we've had some very directness in this last year and a half, and how that can shift. And I'll talk about more aspects of that later, because there's going to be some big aspects later on in the year. So those are the notables. The next thing is, it's like, okay, overall, I've kind of said some of this already, but what is the energy? What's happening here? What's setting the stage for the next month after this moon? And as I said, this is the Forgotten Child's Moon from Raven Caldera's Moon Phase Astrology book. Really love the book. This is the moon where we're not getting paid attention to. We're ignored. We're told we're not doing the right thing, or it's not valuable, and we're just kind of overlooked. And this can cause a feeling and a sense of sadness and depression, right? Like no one's recognizing what I'm doing. What's going on here? Like I'm working really hard. Or, people in the family, you're just not like what they expected you to be. Like you were born and they thought they'd get this, was a child of whimsy and wonder. We're making like mystical paintings, whatever, right? It's a story. But this is a kid who maybe comes in, is just doing more practical things and building really cool Lego things, but it, looks boring to the parent. Like this is not the child I wanted. They're quiet, they're introverted, blah, blah, blah. So we might not be seen for actually our true talents, because those are all gifts and talents too, but it's not like it's a mismatch within that child-parent relationship. But, however, there's some positive aspects here, and I kind of talked about it. And so the positive aspects to this new moon are Saturn in Pisces and Uranus in Taurus. And I think this is a really great opportunity where we can find some truth about who we are and what we are, and stop looking for other people's approval or appraisal or for fitting in, and going forward with the dream we want to make. And so how this looks to me is, so Saturn rules this new moon and Saturn's in Pisces. So it's like, hey, that dream is there and it's channeling in, and I'm going to help you build it. So even though this new moon is in Capricorn, there's a dreaminess about it. It's like, what do you want to create where you're connected to source and you just know it? We all have that thing. We all have that thing. It can look vastly different. It could be writing. It could be building a business. I mean, it could be doing charity. Who knows, right? Being a hermit, whatever. We all have it. It's like, go for it. But guess what? Chop the wood and carry the water. This is going to be slow and disciplined. You can make this dream where if it was all Pisces energy and not with some Capricorn, this dream would be very hard, if at all, coming to fruit. And you're going to come against some opposition. Like I said, there's going to be not people patting you on the back. People may not be giving you the resources you want, but with that positive Uranus and Taurus, it's saying there's unexpected resources out there. Or maybe, your value set, your skill set is really unique, and that can help bring out your dream. Like, so this is a lot about self-reliance and like respecting yourself enough and valuing yourself enough to do what you need to do without looking for the accolades, the praise of other people. It's not going to probably come, but in the end, it'll be something wonderful, and you'll really see the worth and the value of yourself. So let it go. Let the need for other people's support go. Then what I wanted to say is there's a lot of other aspects, but the other one I wanted to kind of focus on that's not exact, but the days are so close that I think it's super important to bring up, is that there will be the second of 3 Mars and Pluto opposition. And we could go on and on about this because it's a long story, really, but to shorten it, Pluto has just moved officially into Aquarius for the next 20 years. That's a long time. Yes, it is. And Mars is going retrograde in Leo, and that, is much quicker. And it'll go back in Cancer, and then it'll come back and make the last aspect to what we're going to be talking about here, in a couple months. But what's important is that I think with this Pluto moving into Aquarius, we're really seeing a larger picture unfolding for what's going to be the next 20 years. And the Mars, that aspect's going to happen like on the 2nd. It's going to kind of pop it off again, really set it off. And so how I've seen this, even though this was not the exact aspects, but it's just kind of a intuition that I have a feeling here with. So Pluto officially finished moving into Aquarius in like mid-December. It was kind of going back and forth for the last year and a half. It's officially in. It's not leaving. And it hasn't been there since the American Revolution, the French Revolution, and I'm sure a bunch of the revolutions. So Pluto, change, transformation, bringing up the crap. And Aquarius is like for the greater collective, the greater good. It can also revolve around technology and kind of advancements and that. And I'm like, I don't want to say outer space, but like kind of the next frontier. So we're going into a whole new frontier again. And we could talk about the AI. I'm not going to even go into it, but that is another aspect of it. But what I saw and why I think this aspect is going to highlight a little bit is like what we've been seeing in the political, governmental, really people to government revolutions that are starting here. And like shortly after that happened, like a week after, in December, we had first South Korea declare martial law. And I see this aspect very much as showing how martial law could be called in or called out, like Mars getting retrograde, like in Leo, like we're going to take away your individuality, your right. And then Pluto and Aquarius is like, hey, the people uprose are like, no, absolutely not. This is not what the people want, and we're going to tell you about it now. We're not waiting around anymore like we used to. When Pluto's in Capricorn, people kind of were a little bit more willing to do the mainstream thing. Not anymore. Not if it doesn't fit the will of the people where it's at. And notice how quickly that changed in a day. So I feel like that energy, not saying that this is going to happen again exactly that way, but it's showing you like there's going to be some people to government tension, I think, in many, many countries. And there already has been, but it's going to be a little more like quick and a little more like, And then the next thing that happened was the Syrian government. And we don't have to go into that deeply, but 50 years under a regime that was not enjoyed by, I think, almost anybody. getting overthrown by what was once considered a terrorist organization. And, you know, there's up for some debate now because the leaders saying like they want peace and they want to do it peacefully and like with the people in mind that Pluto and Aquarius again. Now, what's going to happen? I don't know. But it's keeping the people in mind, like no longer can we do this. No longer can you keep us from our home. No longer can you keep us as a community away from our community. We're going to change this. So this aspect is very much present in the sky and will be for 20 years, but that Mars, when it crosses over, it's really going to highlight, it's like, what are you going to do to keep your individuality, but also care about the community? So those are the biggest things that, you know, I really wanted to point out here. I think it's a very dynamic and possibly very positive moon. It can feel a little heavy, but if you can really dig deep and see where your reserves are and go, I'm going to shoot for the bigger dream, but slowly and calmly, hopefully, it's a good thing. Or you could pop off and not start building anything because you're lost in the details or what other people think about you. You know, you choose. The phrase that I wrote for this moon, because I like trying to think about phrases, is, and I really thought about the year ahead still too, because I feel like it's not just the start, but it's like, you know, we're really kind of revving our engines here for this year and a half of changes. Change is here and there's no turning back. What part of change do you want to contribute to? You choose. You know, change is not always good. You know, the changes we make are not always positive, but they're not always bad either. And so how do you want to be and show up in the change that's coming? Something more positive and more supportive of yourself, but also others? Or, you know, is it a knee-jerk reaction, which, you know, can also happen where it's like looking for me, mine, and mine. With that, I'll let you go and give you, hoping you and wishing you a happy new year, full of love and light, and may the changes you want be the change you want, and calmness through these wonderful, unique times. With that, I'm Jennifer at Eureka Astrology and Healing. If you like what I'm doing, hit like, subscribe, check out my website with all the services that I offer at eurekastrologyandhealing.com. May the plants ground you and the stars guide you. Ciao for now.